Hey guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. Time for OJ. Oh, oh, he's still questioning her. And it's not Goldberg, so we gotta listen to I can't remember his name. I don't care what his name is, something Feld, something, I don't know. But we got her for a bit yet. And I know it's Saturday, but I gotta get my daughter to work again today. Remember, she works every other Saturday, and the Saturday, if she works on Saturday, she had off on Thursday. So she had off Thursday. That's why I was here the whole time. I got to take her in today. And then this Thursday, she'll go to work. So here we go. Let's do OJ. We'll figure out his name because Ito will yell at him. You're gonna yell at him.
Now, Ms. Mazzola,
Thank you, Josh.
the reason that you collected those drops is because you have been told by the detectives that these drops might perhaps come from the person who was the assailant, as a possibility. Weren't you told that?
That was a possibility, yes.
And already
And
his first question pisses me off. No. I mean, yeah, it was a possibility, but no. She doesn't assume things like that. She doesn't make assumptions like, why would she? It's an investigation.
detectives, I believe, walked you and Dennis Fung along that walkway, pointing out the different blood drops or blood stains to you. Did they not?
I went up to a certain point on the walkway. They were pointing out the drops, yes.
And when you say they were pointing out the drops, they were pointing out the stains. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And now that you have seen Detective Lang and Van Adder, and you know what they look like, the detectives who took you on this walkthrough, were either of them Detective Lang or Van Adder?
I can't remember which ones were there that day.
How many different detectives took you on that walkthrough, approximately?
I wasn't counting detectives. I don't know.
All right, well, was it more than two?
There's more than one.
Right. And they were both speaking and pointing out different items to you and Dennis Fung?
They were talking to Mr. Fung, yes.
And you could hear what they were saying?
Certain portions, yes.
And you collected every stain that you saw along this walkway, did you not?
The stains were in the trail, yes.
Right. And could you step down for 1 second, please?
All right, you have the long pointer there. Mr. Newfield.
Okay. Ms. Mazzola, you said you collected every stain that was along that walkway, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't simply say, I will only collect representative stains, did you?
On this, no.
You made a decision with Dennis Fung that you would collect each and every stain along that way, correct?
I was told to pick up every stain,
By Dennis Fung.
yes.
And he told you that even before you started picking up the stains, didn't he?
Yes.
Now, item number 50, by the way, isn't it true that you would collect items of evidence in sequence?
As much as possible, yes.
So the photo ID numbers that you use, such as 112 for item 47, was collected before photo ID number 113, which corresponds to item 48. Isn't that right? That was your practice.
For the most part.
Well, was that your practice to do that?
Asked and answered.
Oh,
On this occasion, we started working on the trail, the walkway, because we wanted to get those stains up first.
Okay. Well, did you pick up the stains on the walkway before you picked up the perishables and loose items of evidence, such as the hat and the glove and the keys?
No, they were recovered first, and then we went on to the walkway.
Okay, so first you picked up the items, the perishable items, and then you started collecting the stains. Is that right?
sustained. So the facts that aren't in evidence.
First, you started collecting the non-stain evidence, and then you went on to collect stains. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when you got to that walkway and you started collecting them, did you collect item 47 first on the walkway?
Yes,
And then you collected item 48, correct?
correct.
Then you collected item 49. Is that right? Could you please point out to the jury where items 47, 48, and 49 are?
47, right here. 8, and 49.
Can you see that too? And then did you then go on to pick up item 50?
Yes,
And could you please point out where item 50 is? And would you agree, ma'am, that item 50 is located simply a few feet from the back gate along that walkway?
on the diagram, it appears to be close to the back gate.
Right? And in fact, ma'am, to get, then at some point did you pick up item 52 after you picked up item 50?
Yes,
And to get to item 52, you had to walk through the back gate, didn't you?
I just kept on going. There was no gate barring my way.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, are you saying that there was no gate at the Bundy walkway on June 13th, 1994? Is that your testimony?
I do not recall seeing a gate on that morning.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, if other witnesses had testified that they were absolutely certain that there was a gate present at the rear of that walkway on June 13th, would that affect your testimony today as to whether or not there was a gate there on June 13th?
It's improper.
Sustained.
Do you have any reason to believe, Ms. Mazzola, that there wasn't a gate there on June 13th when you collected the evidence?
Argumentative suspects not
Sustained. Ms. Mazzola, have you been back to the scene since at Bundy?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen the gate back there?
I have seen a gate since, yes.
Proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. When you were at the SID Mini Academy, Ms. Mazzola, did they teach you how to look for evidence?
Yes,
In fact, when you were at Rockingham that morning, Ms. Mazzola, you and Dennis Fung looked all along the driveway systematically for every possible red stain along the way, didn't you?
yes,
And you'd been taught to do that at the SID Mini Academy, hadn't you?
yes,
And likewise, Ms. Mazzola, at Bundy, as you proceeded along that walkway in that line, you were looking for as many red stains as could be there, correct?
in that trail, yes.
And when you say that trail, you mean all the way from where 47 is, and could you point to 47, please? And now could you point to 52? And all along that line, connecting those two dots, from 47 to 52, you were looking systematically all along that way for any red stains. Isn't that correct?
The area had already been searched for red stains. I was following the trail that I was told to pick up.
Ms. Mazzola, a moment ago I asked you whether or not you had been taught to systematically examine trail or walkway for any and all red stains.
Yes,
I believe you answered yes. Is that correct?
correct.
And when you were at the Bundy location that day, ma'am, were you also systematically examining that walkway from item 47 to item 52 for the presence of red stains?
fake as to whether you was collected or individual.
Oh,
Were you doing that?
It had already been searched for red stains before I started collecting them.
Yes. And the person who searched for red stains before you started collecting it was you and Dennis Fung. Isn't that correct?
Myself up to a certain point with Mr. Funk, and the detectives and Mr. Funk continued on out the back.
Ms. Mazzola, who told you to pick up item 52?
Mr. Funk,
He told you that there was a bloodstain outside the rear gate, correct?
who told me there was a blood stain on the driveway.
Have you been taught, Ms. Mazzola, at the SID Mini Academy to independently look for evidence when you're at a crime scene?
To a certain extent, yes.
Have you been taught, Ms. Mazzola, to keep your eyes open as you walk through a crime scene to see if there's any relevant evidence?
Yes.
And Ms. Mazzola, did you keep your eyes open when you left item 50 and headed through the rear gate to item 52?
My eyes were open when I went out the back. of the
Okay.
driveway.
And when you walked out that back, you didn't see any red stains on the rear gate, did you?
She inspects it and never she saw the gate.
oh,
I honestly don't remember seeing a gate there.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, now that you said you've been back to that location, correct?
Correct.
And you know the gate is there.
Correct.
And you know from speaking to other people about this case that the gate was there, in fact, on the 13th, don't you?
Yes, it was there on the 13th.
And so once again, I ask you, when you were walking from item 50 to item 52 with your eyes open, did you notice any bloodstains on the gate?
I did not notice a gate.
Did you notice any bloodstains there, Ms. Mazzola?
This is bad, Joe, next to answer.
sustain. She's answered she didn't see the gate. If she didn't see the gate, she couldn't see anything that wasn't on it. Or was on it.
Thank you. Let me turn this. Ms. Mazzola, when you were prepped to testify in this case by the prosecutors, were you told that there was an issue in this case, that is, the fact that blood drops, alleged blood drops, were not recovered from the gate on June 13th, but were recovered from the gate 3 weeks later? Were you told that
I remember hearing something about that.
during the prep sessions?
I can't recall if it was during the prep sessions or not.
And were you told during those prep sessions, Ms. Pizzola, that one way to deal with that particular problem would be to say that you never even saw the gate when you were there?
No,
Did you come up with that idea on your own, ma'am?
Sustain.
When you went back to Rockingham for the second time, Ms. Mazzola, did you make any contemporaneous note to indicate the time that you arrived back at Rockingham?
I don't believe we did.
Now, do you know what time you left Bundy?
The approximate time, yes,
And how do you know the approximate time?
because it was written down while we were in the truck going back to Rockingham.
And where did you write that down?
I believe it was in the notes. Let
Which note?
me check.
Can I first witness to see what note she's looking at?
Certainly. Goldberg.
I have it written down here.
Well, when you say you have it written down here, that's not an original entry that was made contemporaneous to the making out of these field notes on the 13th, is it?
It doesn't appear to be.
Okay. Do you have any contemporaneous note that you made to indicate what time you left Bundy?
There doesn't appear to be.
And a moment ago, ma'am, when you testified that you wrote down the time you had left Bundy while you and Dennis Fung were in the van on the way back to Rockingham. Is that something that you had just made up?
Overruled.
I believe we had written down the time.
Well, what was your basis? You testified a moment ago that you wrote down the time you left Bundy in the van while you and Dennis Fung were on your way back to Rockingham.
That I knew the approximate time that we had left Bundy.
But did you have an independent recollection of actually writing it down while you were in the van in transit?
I can't remember if I recall if it was exactly when we were in the van, if we had just left or we were sitting in the truck getting ready to leave for
But
what.
you said you had an independent recollection. I'm sorry. Okay,
Counsel,
sorry. Please.
No, go ahead.
But a moment ago, you testified that you did have a recollection that either while you were sitting in the van or while the van was in transit, that you actually wrote down an entry as to the time that you had left Bundy. Wasn't that what you just testified to a little while ago?
Correct.
My question to you is, ma'am, when you testified to that a little while ago, did you simply make that up?
No, I thought we had.
And what was your basis for believing that you had done that?
That I knew the approximate time we had left.
Well, and what was the source of your information as to the approximate time that you left?
The time that I had in my notes.
But the time you just put in your note is not a note that you made on June 13th, is it?
It appears not to be.
all right. Now we've gone through this twice now.
As best you can recall at this time, Ms. Mazzola, what time did you leave Bundy?
Approximately 3:15 or so.
Yet, would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that you have no independent basis for estimating that time?
Sustained.
Now, when you first got back to Rockingham, Ms. Mazzola, the first place you inspected was the exterior south side of Mr. Simpson's residence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And while you were down inspecting and examining that location on Mr. Simpson's property, you noticed a red mark on a wire hanging down. Did you not?
It was brought to my attention that there was a red mark on a wire back there.
And who was it who brought that to your attention?
I can't remember if it was Mr. Fung or a detective.
And after it was brought to your attention, did you then return to the front of the house to go get your stain collection kit?
Yes,
And then once you got the stain collection kit, you alone went back to the side of the house to collect that stain. Is that right?
correct.
And that reddish discoloration that you collected on that wire, that became item number 11, did it not?
Yes,
And you collected that item number 11 without Dennis Fung even being present to observe. Isn't that correct?
that's correct.
And just like the other stains that you collected that day, you swatched the reddish area, did you not?
I swatched the area that came up phenol positive. I had trouble seeing exactly the red mark itself.
Ms. Zola, you saw a reddish discoloration on the wire?
It was pointed out to me, but I still couldn't quite make it out.
You're saying that you couldn't make out that it was a reddish stain on the wire before you collected it? Is that your testimony?
The wire was dirty and we did a phenol test on it.
Ms. Mazzola, I'm asking, may I have a sidebar, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
With the court reporter.
Oh, he's about to get yelled at. He just asked for a sidebar, and he's about to get yelled at. I'm watching because he's getting yelled at right now. He's just shaking his head. Yes, yes, yes. And then he just ignored what Ito said, and now he's going into his issue with what the witness just said on the stand. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Even Mrs. Robinson is listening in. Cuckoo, cuckoo. I don't know. I wouldn't mind jury duty. I had it. Why? I was just called recently, but I wasn't picked. I was called for the grand jury, but I was not picked. That would have been awesome. That would have been too much for me to handle. This should have been over in a month, maybe. It just should have. Oh, we didn't get to see if they were
Thank you,
smiling.
counsel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to Ms. Mazzola's testimony concerning the testing of the wire using the phenolphthalein presumptive test, I'm going to direct you to disregard her testimony that she got a positive result from that test. The reason for that is phenolphthalein is what is called a presumptive test. It only means that it's possible that blood is there, but other things also give a positive test. And unless there is a test to confirm that it is in fact blood and human blood, then you should not consider that result. So since there is no confirmatory test on this particular wire, you are to disregard the fact that there was a positive phenolphthalein result on the wire.
Oh, so OJ's
Thank you.
innocent.
Mr.
That
Farrell.
proves it.
I will allow the testimony to stand, however, as to her taking the swatch.
Oh, yes. Taking the swatch and putting it in the bag.
Yes,
Okay.
proceed.
In fact, when you collected item number 11, Ms. Mazzola, did you make a control swatch?
Yes,
And then you also made a separate swatch of the item of evidence. Is that correct?
correct.
And even before you collected item 11, Ms. Mazzola, did you make an entry in your field notes indicating the location of the item?
Yes,
And when you collected the item, did you also make an entry in your field notes as to the time at which you collected it?
yes.
And what was the time, ma'am?
It's approximately 1540.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, you testified that you learned subsequent to your testifying on August 23rd that it really was not necessary for you to fill in the time for every item that you collected at a crime scene. Is that correct?
Correct.
And were you told that you only had to enter the times where it was relevant?
Some people said that, yes.
Well, let me ask you what your criteria were on June 13th. What was your criteria for deciding when to write down a time on the field notes as opposed to those instances where you chose not to write down a time?
I really don't remember what my criteria was at the time.
Well, by looking at your field notes now, can you reconstruct what your reason was for writing down times that you collected some items, but not writing down the times that you collected other items?
Not really, no.
But it is your best recollection that the primary criteria should be when the criminalist believes it relevant. Is that right?
From what I've learned subsequent to that, yes.
Now, for item number 6, which was a blood stain at Rockingham, you did write down the time, did you not?
I believe so.
Why don't you check your notes?
Let me make sure. Yes,
But you didn't write down the time for any of the stains that you collected at Bundy. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Now, is the reason that you gave that kind of disparate treatment to the single drop at Rockingham as opposed to any and all of the stains at Bundy because you believe that item number 6 at Rockingham was relevant and the time you collected item number 6 at Rockingham was relevant, but the time that you collected any and all of the stains at Bundy were irrelevant?
Unintelligible and also single drop mistakes. That's correct.
Oh, do you understand the question?
Not really.
Rephrase the question.
Certainly. You would agree that you didn't note the time that you collected any of the stains at Bundy, is that right?
That's correct.
My question, therefore, Ms. Mazzola, is the reason that you recorded the time you collected item number 6 at Rockingham, but didn't record the collection of any of the stains at Bundy because you deemed time to be relevant for item number 6, but irrelevant with respect to all the blood drops at Bundy?
No,
Well, if relevant was supposed to be the criteria by which you decided whether to note the time, then what was the reason why you noted it for number 6 at Rockingham, but didn't note it for a single stain at Bundy?
Sue's facts and evidence.
Oral.
I learned that it would be relevant since then. At the time, I was trying to keep track of the time. When we arrived at Bundy, Mr. Fung informed me that we would be collecting a lot of samples. The time that we started picking up, the time that we ended, keep an eye on that. Individual samples don't bother.
Well, when you say the time that you started, you mean the time you collected the first item and the time that you collected the last item?
He said, try to keep an eye on that, and that
Okay.
was it.
Did you note, what was the first blood stain that you collected at Bundy? Bundy.
Property item 41.
That was the first stain you collected? And did you note in your field notes the time that you collected the first stain?
No,
What was the last stain that you collected at Bundy?
the last stain was from a shoe print that Mr. Fung lifted.
And did you note the time of that?
No, we did not.
So is it now your best recollection that Dennis Fung told you to note the time you collected the first stain and the time you collected the last stain, but you simply forgot to do it?
Yes.
And once you entered the house, after you collected item 11, the first item that you collected inside the house was item number 12, is that right?
Correct.
And those would be the drops of blood that you found in the foyer of Mr. Simpson's home.
Correct.
And before you collected item number 12, you did an inspection of the first floor of the house, did you not?
I can't remember if we inspected first or picked up first.
All right. Well, what time did you actually pick up item number 12? Did you record that in your notes?
Let's see. Yes,
And what time was that?
16:30.
That would be 3:30, 3:30? No, 4:30.
4:30.
4:30 in the afternoon. Thank you. And either before or after you picked up item 12, you did do an inspection of the first floor of the house looking for bloody clothing. Is that right?
For blood in general.
All right, looking for blood stains.
Yeah, no,
Correct.
she
Looking
wasn't
for blood-
looking for bloody clothing. Sir, that's not her job. She's not an investigator. She doesn't go and seek out bloody clothing. That's not what she does. She goes to a scene and she collects the evidence that's there. She doesn't look for evidence. She collects what evidence is there.
Smears,
Correct.
looking for flecks of dried blood.
Correct.
And you examined the kitchen, didn't you?
Yes.
You examined the kitchen sink?
I did not personally.
Well, do you know whether Dennis Fung examined the kitchen sink?
Overruled.
Personally, I don't know if he did or not.
Right? Did you examine the laundry room?
Yes.
Did you examine the living room,
Yes.
and the dining room?
Yes.
And would you agree that except for the several drops that you found right in the foyer inside the front door, that there were no bloodstains found anywhere on the first floor of that house?
That's correct.
And that there was no blood smears found anywhere on the first floor of that house?
That's correct.
And that there were no blood flakes of dry blood?
Oh, there was only blood in the foyer. So, of course, he couldn't have done it because there was only blood in one area.
Found anywhere on the first floor of that house?
We did not find any.
Well, and that's what you were looking for, weren't you?
That's correct.
And you were taught, ma'am, looking for blood evidence to examine the location in a systematic way. Isn't that correct?
It is redundant.
Not to the inside of the house.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Especially with negative results.
And after you inspected the first floor, you went up to the second floor. Is that right?
That's correct.
And did you inspect counters?
Yes.
Did you inspect light switchers?
Yes.
Did you inspect the shelves in Mr. Simpson's closet?
As the shelves themselves or the contents? What?
Just the front of the shelves
I
for any sign of blood?
don't remember if we looked at the front of the shelves or not.
Did you look at knobs on the drawers?
I believe so.
And no flakes of dried blood were found in those locations that I just enumerated to you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And no smears of wet blood were found in those locations that I just enumerated to you.
We did not find any.
One moment. And while you were there, Ms. Mazzola, did you inspect either the intercom or the telephone to see whether or not there were any bloodstains on it?
I did not personally know.
Do you know whether Dennis Fung did?
I do not know personally if he did or not.
Well, telephone's one of the locations that you were taught at the SID Mini Academy to examine for the presence of blood.
We were not taught to look at the phone. We were taught to look at things in general.
Okay, you know what? I'm starting to wonder. All right, stick with me. The jury has just been sequestered for so freaking long. And then they have to deal with this over and over and over again. It's been months. And they have to deal with this. Trial's over. The jury's in there. They're deliberating. And there's one person in there that says, listen, he's not guilty. And absolutely nothing you say or do in this room will make me change my mind on that. I will always, always, always vote not guilty, no matter what. And these jurors are like, listen, I just want to go home. I just don't care anymore. I want to go home. I want to go home. Fine. Not guilty. 11 people changed their verdict to not guilty because one person in that room said, I just am never going to change my no, I don't, that's not probably not what happened, but it would explain a hell of a lot if that is in fact what happened.
Now, up on the second floor in Mr. Simpson's bedroom, were you shown a pair of dark socks on the floor?
There were a pair of dark socks on the floor.
And who pointed out the socks to you?
I don't know if it was one of the detectives or Mr. Fung.
Didn't you and Dennis Fung ascend the stairs together to the second floor?
I don't know if we were together all the time or not. I can't remember.
Not all the time, but were you together when you went upstairs? When you left the first floor and went to the second floor?
We were both on the second level at the same time.
And at that point in time, you were still looking for any sign of blood. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you were also looking to see whether or not any of the clothing had blood. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was Dennis Fung already in the room where the socks were prior to your arrival in that room?
I don't think so, but I can't be positive.
Did Dennis Fung pick up the socks in your presence?
He collected the socks, yes.
And did he give them to you to put into a brown paper bag, or did he put it in the bag himself?
He put them in the bag himself.
And you saw him do that?
Yes.
And you said a moment ago that both you and Dennis Fung were looking for blood. Is that right?
Yes.
And you saw, of course, Dennis Fung examine or look at the socks before he put them into the bag. Did he not?
I don't know if I was watching him all the time or not.
So as you sit here today, you don't know whether or not and to what extent Dennis Fung examined those socks before putting them in the bag. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Did you personally observe the socks before or examine the socks up close before they were put in the bag?
No.
You relied on Dennis Fung to do that?
Yes.
Well, since that's not how this is done.
I'm asking her
Overruled.
state of mind. That's,
Overruled.
and while you were in that room with Dennis Fung, did he at any point express to you, oh, I see blood on the socks?
Sustained.
Did Dennis Fung say anything to you to indicate that he observed stains on the socks?
Sustained.
When you were up in the bedroom, did you examine the carpet where the socks were found?
I did not personally, no.
Did you see Dennis Fung look at the carpet where the socks were found?
Overruled.
I can't remember if I saw him looking at the carpet while he picked up the socks or not.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, you said that you and he, it was your purpose to be examining items in the house for the presence of blood. Is that correct?
As to the carpet only, would you focus in on that, please?
So, okay.
But we've all been to Mr. Simpson's home, the jury, counsel. We've seen the number of items that are there. If we go through each and every item, we'll be here for a long time.
I agree, Your Honor.
suggest we
Sorry.
not do that,
Okay.
especially since there are only a few items in the house.
Well, with respect to the carpet in the room,
Respect for the carpet.
both the large carpet and the smaller area rug as well. You didn't observe any flecks of blood on that carpeting, isn't that right?
The areas I looked at, I did not.
And you did not observe any smears of blood on that carpet or on that rug, isn't that correct?
On the areas I looked at, I did not.
And nor did you observe any drop of blood at either of those locations, did you?
On the areas I looked at, I did not.
And in the areas that you looked at on that carpet and on that rug, did you observe any soil?
I can't remember if I saw soil or not.
Well, if you saw an unusual amount of, if you saw any soil at all, would it have been your standard practice to call that to Dennis Fung's attention?
It depends on what you regard as any amount. I mean, carpet naturally has some dirt on it.
Did you see any soil as opposed to other types of debris on the rug or on the carpet when you inspected it on June 13th?
I do not believe so.
And you said that the one place that you actually saw a red stain was on the floor of the bathroom in the master bedroom. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it was just a small, faint smear, wasn't it?
It was small, yes.
It wasn't a drop, it was simply a smear. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And you do not know, or did not know at the time, how long that faint smear of blood had been on that floor, do you?
I don't know, no.
Well, Miss Mazzola, have either you or any member of your family ever cut yourself shaving in the bathroom?
Sustained.
Ms. Mazzola, based on your professional experience, do you find it unusual that you would see one small faint smear of blood on the floor of a bathroom?
Sustained. Is there any way to date blood samples that you find at scenes?
From my experience, I don't know.
Move on.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, when you returned to Rockingham that afternoon, you did collect several items of evidence, isn't that right?
That's right.
And it was your practice to write down on the field notes every item of evidence that you and Mr. Fung received, isn't that right?
Yes.
And it was the standard procedure at SID that you would record the collection of each item in the field notes at or about the time that the item was actually received. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And in fact, over the 2 days, June 13th and June 14th, you were asked to record the collection of approximately 50 or so items. Isn't that correct?
I'm not sure exactly how many. Quite a few.
Well, could you look at your notes to refresh your recollection to see the approximate number of items that you collected during those 2 days?
Doesn't the evidence collection sheet speak for itself? The jury's seen it. We know it's a lot of items.
Well, I believe, Your Honor, it's approximately 50, 55 items, and I didn't want to testify.
I agree. Do we need to have the time to have the witness sit here and count the number of items?
Ms. Mazzola, other than the blood vial belonging to Mr. Simpson, isn't it a fact that every other item was recorded over those 2 days contemporaneous to its being collected?
Except 2 items we recovered before we left Rockingham on that day.
You said except for 2 items?
Correct.
And what number were those 2 items?
Property items 15 and 16.
Well, in your field notes, did you make an entry that property items 15 and 16 were collected at approximately 1700 hours?
That is the entry, yes.
And did you make that entry in the afternoon while you were at Rockingham before you left Rockingham?
No.
When and where did you make those entries for items 15 and 16, Ms. Mazzola?
It was the following day at the laboratory.
Do you have an independent recollection of that?
It was at the laboratory the next day.
No, I'm asking you, do you have an independent recollection that it was at the laboratory the next day? Or did someone tell you or suggest to you that that's when it was?
It's my handwriting. That was the only time it could be.
Well, no, Ms. Mazzola, your handwriting appears in these field notes as saying the time of collection was 1,700 hours. By looking at your handwriting in those notes, you can't tell whether you made that entry at approximately 1,700 hours on June 13th or the next day, can you?
It was not made on June 13th
And how do you know that it was not made on June 13th?
because our field notes were in the posse box, which was locked in the back of the truck at the time.
Ms. Mazzola, are you saying that you did not collect items 15 and 16 until after I'm sorry, what were the field notes on? A clipboard?
The posse box, yes, clipboard.
Well, no. Is a posse box different than a clipboard?
It serves as a posse box and clipboard. There is a place to hold the papers on the outside.
Right? And are you saying that before you collected items 15 and 16, you had already put the posse box into the rear of the van and locked the van?
Yes,
And how do you know that items 15 and 16 were collected after the posse box was locked in the van as opposed to before?
because our kits were also in the back of the truck that had our packaging material.
Ms. Mazzola, your kits with your packaging material were locked in the box. I'm sorry. Your kits with your packaging material were locked in the rear of the van at the same time you locked the posse box in the rear of the van. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And have you seen a videotape showing you walking to the van with your kit?
I've seen many videos, but I believe I've seen a few with us walking to the truck with the kits.
And when you're walking to the truck with kits, you're also walking with a posse box, correct?
I believe the posse box is also there, yes.
And on that videotape that you saw, which showed you walking to the back of the van with those items, there was a time code on that tape, was there not?
I don't remember.
Well, one moment, Your Honor. Take a minute because I didn't anticipate it. I'm sorry. Ms. Mazzola, while he's getting that, just so I can back up a second, the reason you believe that the two entries of 1700 for items 15 and 16 were written the next day is because you believe that at the time you picked up 15 and 16, the posse box, which contained the field notes, was already locked in the van. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the reason you believe that the posse box was locked in the van at that particular time is because you saw a videotape of yourself locking the posse box in the van. Isn't that correct?
I remember when we collected items 15 and 16 and what we packaged them in. That's why I know that we did not have our kits or the posse box with us.
Ms. Mazzola, as you can best recall it today, what were items 15 and 16 packaged in?
They were placed in a plastic garbage bag.
And Ms. Mazzola, on the field notes, where it says packaged in, did you write down what items 15 and 16 were packaged in?
No.
If I was OJ, I would be like, okay, just send me to jail. I can't handle this no more. I'll go to jail. I'll go to jail.
Show that.
Starting with 17/10/59.
Right. Could we stop there for a minute? Now, Ms. Mazzola, it's at this point that you locked your posse box with other items of evidence in the rear of the van. Is that right?
That's right.
And it's already been stipulated to, in this case, that the time that you see on that videotape is in fact the correct time, give or take 30 seconds. So that would mean that the time that you locked the posse box and the other items of evidence in your kit in the back of the van is approximately 17:11. Would you agree, ma'am?
I agree.
So would you agree, ma'am, that the time of 1700 hours is approximately 11 minutes before you lock that posse box in the back of the van?
17 to 1711, yes.
So would you agree, ma'am, that had in fact items 15 and 16 been collected at 1700 hours, the time that you put on your field report, they could have been collected and packaged the ordinary way prior to the time that you locked the posse box and the kit in the rear of the van? Would you agree with that?
If they'd been collected at 1700 hours, yes.
And 1700 hours, ma'am, is the time that you put down on your field notes, isn't it?
That was written there and I made a mistake.
But Ms. Mazzola, you said a moment ago that you don't even have an independent recollection of writing these entries the next day, but that you were relying on the fact that you must have written them the next day because the posse box at 1700 hours was locked in the back of the van. Isn't that correct?
Sustained. It's argumentative as well.
For the record, Your Honor, I think the time should be noted that she's locking the rear of the van at 17 hours, 11 minutes, and 51 seconds.
Noted.
Now, would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that except for the blood vial of Mr. Simpson, every item that you collected during those 2 days, June 13th and June 14th, was recorded in the order in which it was collected?
I believe there was an item of evidence that Detective Lang brought to the laboratory that might be out of order.
When was it collected by the criminalists? Would that be on the morning of June 14th?
Let me double check.
Overruled.
It was on the 14th.
And when you say it's not in sequence, you mean to say that in your original field notes, you recorded the sneakers as being received by the criminalists prior to the time that the criminalists received the blood vial of Mr. Simpson's blood. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And other than that one switch that you've just described, were all other 50 or so items collected and recorded in the, recorded in your field notes in the order in which they were collected?
I believe so.
And isn't that one of the reasons that you carry the clipboard in the first place? So you can record the different items that you collect in the sequence in which you receive them?
It is just to give us a stable writing surface so we can write things down.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean the clipboard, I mean the field notes.
Oh.
Isn't that the reason why you carry, one of the reasons why you keep the field notes?
So we can write down what we collect and the measurements, things like that.
And also so you can record things in the field notes in the order in which you collect them. Isn't that so?
Doesn't have to be in the exact order that we collect things, but just to keep track of things.
Well, weren't you taught at the SID Mini Academy to record items of evidence sequentially as you collect them? Did they teach you that?
I don't believe that was ever brought out.
Is it just a coincidence that in your field notes that except for items 17 and 18, all the other items are recorded in the sequence in which they're collected?
It usually works out like that.
And if you don't have a clipboard handy when you receive an item of evidence, is it your procedure to record that item in the field notes at the first opportunity?
Yes,
You've been taught to do that, right?
yes.
When it came time to leave Rockingham, the last items that you remember collecting were items 15 and 16. Isn't that correct?
I collected one and Mr. Fung collected the other, yes.
Okay, which of those two items did you collect and which did Mr. Fung collect?
Just by the numbers. Ms. Mazzola, just tell us which number.
All right, Your Honor. I collected number 16.
And 16 was collected on a bench just outside the door, correct?
Correct?
And it was not Mr. Simpson's vial of blood, was it?
No.
And item 15 was collected in a trash basket in a bathroom off the foyer of the house, wasn't it?
Correct?
And number 15 was not a blood vial of Mr. Simpson's, was it?
No, it was not.
I object that for the question.
Overruled.
Now, after you and Dennis Fung went out to load the truck with the posse box and the kits and the brown paper bags of items that you had collected, you and he went back inside for one last check to make sure that nothing had been left behind. Isn't that right?
That was one of the reasons, yes.
On the way back inside the house, Ms. Mazzola, did you observe Mr. Fung pick up the various photo ID number cards that had been left on the driveway?
I remember from the videos him picking up the number cards.
But you don't have an independent recollection
No.
of it?
No.
And I believe that day in total, you used more than a half a dozen of those photo ID cards in that driveway. Isn't that right?
Let's see. Maybe not quite half a dozen.
Well, number 5 was in the driveway, correct?
Correct.
6 was in the driveway,
Correct.
right? 7 and 8.
Right.
A, right?
A and B. Correct.
B and C.
Correct.
8? Is that
I
correct?
stand corrected, yes.
Okay. And these photo ID cards that you use, you carry them or you store them in your black box, your kit box, don't you?
Yes.
So you can use them and recycle them, correct?
Correct.
And it's also your practice, is it not, to take your trash with you when you leave a scene?
Correct.
You don't leave it behind.
No.
And approximately within a half hour after you went back into Mr. Simpson's house, you left to return to SID headquarters, didn't you?
I'm could be within half hour or so.
Well, did you look at the videotape which had the time code on it?
I might have. I didn't memorize the time.
And when you walked out the final time, you saw yourself on a videotape carrying a black trash bag, is that right?
It was a trash bag, yes.
And prior to your seeing that videotape, you did not have an independent recollection of your leaving carrying a black trash bag, did you?
No, I remember carrying trash bag. I'm not sure of the color, but I remember carrying the trash bag.
You had a prior recollection, I'm sorry, you had an independent recollection of that prior to seeing the videotape?
Yes.
And as a basis for forming that prior recollection, did anyone suggest or remind you of the fact that you had been carrying a black trash bag out of the scene
No, I remember carrying a trash bag out of the scene.
independently?
Yes.
And when you carried that trash bag out of the scene, at any time did Mr. Fung ever say to you to be careful because it's glass?
Sustained.
Were you aware when you were carrying that trash bag that it contained breakable glass?
No.
Oh,
On the way back to the laboratory, did Dennis Fung ever say to you to make an entry in the field notes that you had received a vial of Mr. Simpson's blood?
sustained. It's hearsay. Proceed.
And the clipboard, I'm sorry, the field notes that were locked in the posse box, when you got back to SID headquarters, they were removed with the items of evidence, weren't they?
Yes.
Everything was brought inside.
Yes.
And how does that posse box open?
It has just a simple clip.
Oh, it doesn't need a key.
No.
Ms. Mazzola, how much later, after you went back into Rockingham for the second time, was it before you collected items 15 and 16? Approximately.
When we went back the second time,
When I say the second time, ma'am,
Yeah.
just so I can clear this up for you, I don't mean returning at 3 o'clock, at 3:15. I mean, you went out to the truck with your posse box and kit, and then you went right back in for one last check.
right,
After you went in for that one last check, how much time passed before you collected item 15?
so item 15 was, I'm not sure which one.
Do you have a note that indicates how long it was after you returned for one last check before you picked item 15?
No, I was just making sure which item was item 15.
Oh, okay.
I picked up item 16 on our way in, and Mr. Fung, I believe, picked up item 15 within a couple of minutes of that.
When you got back to the lab from Rockingham, did you make any entry in your field notes to indicate that you had, or Mr. Fung had collected a vial of blood?
No,
And your field notes were with you at that point in time, weren't they?
yes,
And when you got back to the SID laboratory that early that evening, would you agree that the most time-consuming matter for you was the removal of the little swatches with bloodstains and having them transferred into test tubes?
that's correct.
And what did you do with the other brown paper bags that contained the items that had been collected?
They were placed on one of the tables in the evidence processing room.
And were they simply left there as brown paper bags?
Yes,
And is it SID standard procedure for storing wet stains overnight to allow them to dry in a cardboard box?
they are put into a cabinet for drying, yes,
Well, and in that cabinet, they're placed in a cardboard box, isn't that right?
that's correct.
And is it the standard procedure at SID that when you receive a test tube of whole blood, to refrigerate it as soon as it's practicable?
I personally have never received a tube of blood like that.
But you have been taught things at the SID Mini Academy, haven't you?
Yes, but I can't remember what they said about a tube of blood.
As you sit here today, you have no recollection whether in all of those lectures at the SID Mini Academy, anyone ever said to you, you should refrigerate a vial of blood as quickly as practicable?
Ask the words.
Call roll.
I can't remember if it was brought up. It could have been brought up. I don't remember.
Had anyone taught you at the SID Mini Academy that it was okay to leave a vial of whole blood in a trash can on a counter overnight?
Assumes facts, not an evidence.
No, that's Mr. Fung's testimony.
In a trash can?
In a trash bag, I said. And if I said trash can, I stand corrected, and I withdraw the question and I'll rephrase the question.
Please.
Was it, had you been taught by anyone at the SID Mini Academy that it was okay to store a vial of whole blood in a trash bag on a counter in an unrefrigerated capacity overnight?
I don't believe that was brought up.
In fact, the first time that the blood vial of Mr. Simpson's is recorded in your notes is the next morning, June 14th. Isn't that right?
I believe it was sometime the next day.
Do you know if it was the morning or the afternoon?
I'm not sure which
Do
one.
you
it
have
was.
any independent recollection as to when it was?
No, I do not.
Isn't it true that that the blood vial was not recorded by you until after you were told about the sneakers that Detective Lang had dropped off at the SID laboratory?
That is correct.
And thus, it was at that point in time that you made the notations in the field notes identifying the tennis sneakers as item 17. Isn't that correct?
They were recorded in the notes, yes.
And it's at that point in time, after you were told about the sneakers, that you were then told about Mr. Simpson's blood vial. Isn't that right?
Sustain.
Isn't it true that you then recorded, after you recorded the sneakers as item 17, that you then recorded the blood vial of Mr. Simpson as item 18?
That's correct.
And the reason that you recorded it in that sequence at that time is at that point in time, it was your understanding, was it not, that item 17 had been collected prior to item 18?
Overrule.
The tennis shoes were brought to my attention first, so I recorded it first.
Ma'am, didn't you also say a little while ago that it was your practice whenever possible to record items as they are collected sequentially?
As much as possible, yes.
All right. And so when you received these items, the reason you recorded number 17 as the sneakers and number 18 as the blood vial is because at that point in time, it was your state of mind that number 18 was received by SID after the sneakers.
The sneakers were brought to my attention. I wrote them in the field notes. Later, the blood vial was brought to my attention.
Now, I think you said earlier, we agreed earlier, I don't recall which, that there were more than 50 items that were collected on the 13th and 14th by you and or Dennis Fong. Is that right?
I believe we agreed on that, yes.
And isn't it true that the only items of evidence where you were instructed to change the numbers were for the sneakers and the blood vial?
I believe that is correct, yes.
Now, on August 23rd, 1994, you testified at a hearing in this case, didn't you?
I believe it was sometime in August, yes.
And you swore to tell the truth at that hearing?
Yes.
And at that hearing, in some and
I'll be right back, guys, okay? Be good. I'll be right back, and I'll be listening.
substance, Ms. Mazzola, did you testify that you never saw Van Adder transfer the reference sample of Mr. Simpson's blood at any time after 5 p.m. on June 13th?
Sustain.
Well, when you testified on August 23rd, didn't you swear that the last item of evidence collected while you were still at Mr. Simpson's home,
Excuse me, counsel. Page and line.
762? Line 8 through line 11, bearing in mind the court's instructions.
Your Honor, so that it's not inconsistent with anything that's just
Sustained.
Well, isn't it true that the last item that Your Honor, I believe that this was gone into on direct examination, reading this
No.
testimony.
No. I'm sustaining the objection under 770, 1335.
Isn't it true, Ms. Mazzola, that the last item that was picked up at Rockingham that day was item number 16?
The last time that I remember personally being picked up was item 16, yes.
And I believe you said that if an item is picked up by someone else and then given to you, you would also record that in the field notes, correct?
Correct.
You didn't simply record those items that you personally observed the collection of, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And isn't it true, ma'am, that from the time you collected item 16 until the time you ultimately left Rockingham to return to SID, that you and Fung were standing together the entire time?
No.
Well, on August 23rd, referring to page 762, Your Honor.
Line 24.
Beginning on line 24, that's correct.
Proceed.
Were you asked these questions and did you give these answers back on August 23rd at a hearing in this case? Question: were you with Mr. Fung the entire time after you picked up the last item at 1700 hours until you departed for your next destination? Answer: I believe I was. Yes. On August 23rd, you were asked that question and you gave that answer, didn't you?
Yes.
And when you were asked that question on August 23rd, you were testifying based on your memory, weren't you?
To the best I remembered, yes.
Well, you never said, ma'am, in regard to that question, I don't recall, I don't know. Did you?
I said there, I believe so. Yes.
And then you said yes. I believe I was, yes. Isn't that your answer?
I believe I was, yes.
Okay. You didn't in any way say this is something I don't remember, I don't recall if I was with Mr. Fung the entire time, did you?
It's argumentative. The answer stands and speaks for itself, Counsel.
One moment, Your Honor. And isn't it true, Ms. Mazzola, that after item 16 was collected, no other item was recorded in your notes as having been received on June 13th?
At that time, no.
And since you testified back in August with regard to this matter, have other people suggested to you that your failure to substantiate Van Adder and Fung's claim that Mr. Simpson's blood was given to Fung on June 13th was a problem for the prosecution's case?
No.
Was there any discussion, Ms. Mazzola, in the laboratory about the fact that the television was reporting DNA test results on socks prior to the actual testing?
Sustained.
To your
Excuse
knowledge,
me.
Ms. Mazzola,
Excuse me. Jury's to disregard the implication of that question.
to your knowledge, Ms. Mazzola, was anyone in the laboratory being investigated in connection with any alleged leaks?
Sustained.
As early as November 1994, Ms. Mazzola, was there a concern in the laboratory about allegations that there had been tampering with Mr. Simpson's blood?
Your Honor, this is irrelevant.
Oh,
I do not remember if there was a concern over tampering with the sample.
Well, had there been discussion amongst the lab people at SID with regard to an allegation of tampering with Mr. Simpson's blood?
that's hearsay.
I'm offering for her state of mind, Your Honor.
It's hearsay, counsel. It's also irrelevant at this point.
Ms. Mazzola, you testified that you had discussed this case with several people in the laboratory. Is that right?
Not really discussed, just watched a bit of TV or listened to the radio a bit.
Well, didn't you testify on cross-examination last week that you discussed your involvement in this case with Michelle Kessler, your boss at SID?
She more or less wanted to give me pointers on how to communicate. She did not tell me what to say or how to say it.
Did you discuss with her the facts of your alleged involvement in this case?
Sustained. Do have a
Did you
doubt about
discuss with her the nature or fact, did you discuss with her the nature of your involvement in this case?
Not really.
It's your recollection that the only thing you discussed with Ms. Kessler were pointers on how to conduct yourself on the witness stand?
To the best I remember, yes.
You have no recollection of discussing with her the substance of your involvement in this case?
No.
Well, you said that on one occasion, I believe as recently as April of 1995, you discussed this case with Ms. Kessler, Mr. Yamauchi, and Mr. Matheson. Is that correct?
We had a short meeting, yes.
And was that meeting simply to discuss pointers on how to conduct yourself on the witness stand?
Yes.
It didn't have any discussion at all, I'm sorry, it didn't include any discussion at all about the extent of your actual involvement in the case?
No.
Isn't it true that you had a discussion about this case in the presence, about the actual involvement in this case, in the presence of Michelle Kessler back in November of 1994?
I can't remember what happened back in November of 94.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, isn't it a fact that on November 22nd, 1994, you discussed this case, your involvement in this case, in the presence of Michelle Kessler and in the presence of two detective investigators from the district attorney's office? Isn't that a fact?
There was a meeting, yes. I'm not sure of the date.
And at that meeting with Ms. Kessler and the two detectives, you discussed your involvement in this case, didn't you?
I can check this. That's where you assess for that. Sorry,
Objection sustained at this point.
May we break now for lunch?
Thought you were about to finish.
No, I'm not.
How much more do you have?
On this subject, I have approximately 10 minutes and 15 minutes, and then I'm going into the other matter for which we're waiting for certain items.
What's your time estimate?
I'm sorry?
What is your time estimate on that?
That'll take, the last portion of my examination will take, I believe, less than 1 hour.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the morning session. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regards to the case. See you back here at 1:30. Ms. Mazzola, you're excused until 1:30. All right. All right. I'd like to see co-lead counsel in chambers, please.
You had ordered the people to immediately produce those items of evidence, and I've been informed by Mr. Goldberg that apparently Mr. Matheson tells me it may take another few hours. And I thought that should be brought to the court's attention.
All right. Forthwith means as soon as possible.
Okay. Well, you should also know that, as I said before the lunch break, I have about I'd say 15 more minutes on this area, and then I'm going into the area which requires the production of those items, which will take about 1 hour of cross-examination.
So how do you propose we handle this?
Well, I need those items, Your Honor, and of course, you ruled that they had to bring them over forthwith. I can finish, I'll finish this area of cross-examination, I think in about 15 to 20. Mr. Cochran has suggested that the next two witnesses that people intend to call are both very short witnesses. One was the photographer, and the other was the tow truck driver. We would certainly be willing to allow them to use up the rest of the afternoon with one of those short witnesses. Then we could resume with Ms. Mazzola tomorrow morning once they produce those items of evidence.
Are those witnesses available?
I don't think they're in the building. We could conceivably start with Greg Matheson. You may do that anyway.
All right, well,
I'm
let's
not
see how
sure.
far we get.
Okay.
right.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, could Ms. Mazzola step out of the room, Your Honor, with request permission to discuss this matter?
What's it deal with?
It deals with, as you may recall, at the end, after a series of questions and answers by Ms. Mazzola, I asked her whether or not she had participated in a meeting with two investigators from the DA's office and Ms. Kessler, where there was an actual,
She indicated yes.
well, there was an objection, and you said sustained for the time being, okay? And if I can proceed, then there's no problem.
Ms. Goldberg?
Well, I don't know exactly what the council intends to get into, but a while ago, there was,
No, we've wasted enough time with this, counsel. This is not a secret as to what we're talking about. She's acknowledged the meeting. You're going to ask her what was discussed during the meeting, correct?
We'll ask what was discussed, especially not the fact that there were certain denials about having these discussions initially.
well, I don't know exactly which discussions he's talking about for sure. May I just have a moment? Well, Mr. Darden tells me that it is possible that the subject matter that I think council is going to get into was under seal, and that it was a matter that the defense said that they didn't want to pursue. I mean, maybe we're.
All right, Ms. Mazzola, why don't you step out? Thank you. You guys sure you want to get into this? Goldberg?
Well, I don't know, there doesn't seem to be a consensus of opinion as to whether or not this subject was sealed. Mr. Coffin says he doesn't know, and Mr. Darden says he thinks it was. And therefore, I don't know whether I can address it in open court. Maybe Mr. Darden could, with the court's permission, because I wasn't here for this discussion.
Mr. Darden?
Your Honor, and I may be incorrect, and perhaps Mr. Neufeld can correct me if I am, but as I understand that these questions will relate to an investigation we conducted after we received certain documents presented to the court on November 7th. Those documents which I presented to you in chambers when I first appeared in this matter. And as I recall, at that time, the court placed those documents under seal, and there was an indication from the defense that they had no interest in it, it was irrelevant, and that they would not pursue it.
All right, Mr. Neufeld?
Your Honor, as a matter of fact, they indicated they didn't even want the document.
Proceed. Mr. Neufeld?
Your Honor, sorry. What I'm interested in is a meeting which occurred with Ms. Mazzola, Ms. Kessler, and 2 investigators from the district attorney's office. She had said earlier on under examination, she never had a discussion when Ms. Kessler was present at which the actual subject matter of this case was ever discussed, or any allegations of tampering ever came up. This was in fact a meeting which was held on November 22nd, 1994, where she's told by the investigators that we are working on the murder case of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. There's rumors, allegations going around at the crime lab working that some of its swatches in the early stages, right after the collection of blood, tampering going on in OJ's blood, on the swatches, things of that sort. Do you know anything about that at all? And that is the beginning of then a meeting that happens between Ms. Mazzola, Ms. Kessler's present, and these 2 investigators. In light of the fact that she had already testified that no discussion like this ever occurred, okay, and she was given a number of opportunities, Your Honor, to answer that question differently.
No, that's not my recollection of her testimony, counsel. She said that she's had a number of conversations, short, long, in between, in passing, with the DAs.
No, not with the DAs. She meant there were DA prep sessions. She said that. But she said that the conversations she had with Ms. Kessler, she just said it about a half hour, toward the very end of the morning, were limited to pointers about her testimony. That's what she said, very explicitly here on the record, Your Honor. This was a discussion when Ms. Kessler was present, which was not about pointers for when she testified as a witness. It was a discussion about the actual substance of her involvement in this case. And that's what I wanted to ask her about. I do not intend to go into any collateral matters or anything of that nature. I'm simply limited myself to what.
How do you propose to phrase the question?
Well,
give me the exact question you're going to ask.
Sure.
After you get the question and answer that yes, she does now recollect this meeting with the district attorney's
Right.
representatives. And
there's a series of questions. Because I also asked her whether or not there had been, whether she was aware of any concern in the
what is
laboratory.
the question and answers that you're going to ask?
Question would be, and didn't the 2 detective investigators inform you at that meeting where Ms. Kessler was present that they were interviewing you in connection with an investigation they were conducting into allegations that someone tampered with Mr. Simpson's blood vial? Okay, that's the first question. Then there's 2 or 3 questions simply to point out that each time she was asked questions about discussions in Ms. Kessler's presence, about the substance of this case or about tampering, that she claimed that those kinds of discussions didn't happen. Then I would ask her, in the 18 months that you've been at the Los Angeles Police Department, have you ever been questioned by DA investigators about allegations of evidence tampering in the other context, in the other case. Again, somebody to suggest that this is not something that she would have forgotten. I asked her whether or not she would agree that an allegation or investigation into tampering is not it's not your typical encounter that you'd have. Again, there's just a whole series of questions about how she wouldn't forget it. Then, Your Honor, what I'm going to bring to her attention is the fact that during this meeting, Michelle Kessler, fully aware of the fact that she already testified on August 23rd, that she never saw any transfer of blood and never saw anything else passed after items 15 and 16, isn't the fact that during the session held with these investigators and with Michelle Kessler, that didn't Michelle Kessler suggest to you that you actually saw Vanetta pass the blood to Fung? And the reason I want to bring that out, which is something that happened during that meeting, is I believe, Your Honor, it goes to this witness's bias and interest to testify a certain way in this case. I think there's no question that she is a probationer employee at the LAPD. I'm sorry, Your Honor?
Never mind.
Okay, certainly was at the time that this encounter occurred back in November.
All right, I'll hear from the people.
I think that's going to require a joint response from Mr. Goldberg and myself, Your Honor. Well, let me just indicate this. We conducted a mini investigation based on allegations brought forth by the defense last year, or last November. The allegations contained in the documents that I've alluded to already. As I read and understood the documents, they suggested that somehow Ms. Mazzola was somehow involved in some misconduct, and an internal investigation may have been done by the LAPD. I don't know. We did an investigation. If the court were to go back and look at the documents I surrendered to the court would note that they contain the content of conversations allegedly had between Mr. Cochran and Mr. Douglas with the author of those documents. I think that we're in danger perhaps of creating a situation where Mr. Cochran and Mr. Douglas may somehow be witnesses. I think that we are in danger of heading in a direction where we may have a mini trial on the issues raised in that particular document. I think it's dangerous. I think it's irrelevant. It will cause undue consumption of the court's time. Mr. Neufeld has been at Ms. Mazzola for 2 days now on cross-examination. I don't think that the defense case is going to be harmed in any way or to any degree if they're not allowed to go into this area. But it is a dangerous area. We cannot sit by and allow Mr. Neufeld to ask those types of questions without explaining to the jury why those conversations took place in the first place. So I'd ask the court to disallow counsel from going into that area.
Your objection is under 352, I take it then.
It is, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Goldberg, anything to add to that? Don't feel compelled to do so. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Well, I'm taking from the court's indication that the court doesn't feel it needs to hear anything else.
No, do you want it? Is there anything factually or legally you need to add to that?
Well, the only thing that
Just because I invite counsel to speak doesn't mean that they have to say something just to say something.
I was just trying to read the court.
No, don't assume that I've already made up my mind. I'm just.
Well, Your Honor, I'd like to address legally, number one, is there any inconsistencies between what she was asked by Mr. Neufeld and what he proposes to impeach her with, since I guess that is the legal basis upon which she wants to introduce this as impeachment. And it's my recollection that what she was asked were several questions about whether she discussed with Michelle Kessler the substance of this case or her involvement in this case. This has nothing to do with her involvement in this case. This is a fantasy that was somehow created by some author. I'm not sure where the exact source is or whether it is in fact attributable to the defense in any way. I don't know what the resolution on that was. But the point is that it is a fictitious set of events that apparently neither party subscribes to. that she is being questioned about. And how can you argue that that is discussing her involvement in the case? I think what we've seen here has been cross-examination through innuendo, where the defense has been allowed to ask a lot of questions that, quite frankly, I am not used to having seen about, did the prosecution tell you to do this? And weren't you told to say this? And are you lying because of that? And did someone suggest to you the following? And it's all in an effort to place innuendo before this jury as to things that the defense does not have a good faith belief occurred.
And most of your objections have been sustained and the jury's been admonished.
I realize that, Your Honor, but I think that this fits into the mold. It's as soon as you start asking witness, have you been investigated? Did they ask you about allegations of tampering and so on, and whether you had anything to do with it? It is not coming in for any substantive impeachment purpose, but to put a rumor, an allegation, an innuendo in front of this jury. And I don't think that it should be allowed under 352 because there is no real impeachment value here. And there is tremendous danger of confusing, misleading this jury, and spending a lot of time trying to sort out an issue that I'm not sure that is in either side's interest, ultimately, to get into. The prosecution could not allow those kinds of allegations and rumors to be placed before the jury without trying to put them into context. And I'm sure the court would allow us the opportunity to do so, and that's going to involve additional witnesses and explanations that are really going to get us away from the issues in this case, which are related to the evidence collection, testing results, and the defendant's guilt or innocence. And I don't see how putting these kinds of rumors before the jury is going to help resolve them.
All right, thank you, counsel. No, thank you. I've heard both arguments. All right, I'm going to allow Mr. Neufeld to ask a question, whether or not Ms. Mazzola recalls having a meeting that involved Ms. Kessler, I think she was then the interim head of the lab, and two investigators from the district attorney's office. He'll be allowed to ask whether or not the subject matter of that discussion was in fact the collection of evidence with regards to this particular case. He'll be allowed to ask those questions as to those issues, whether or not she recollected those discussions, since that appears to be inconsistent with her prior testimony. All right, let's have Ms. Kessler, let's have the jury, please.
May I also ask you about the vial? That's one of the items of collection.
I'm sorry?
May I ask you about the vial? Because that's one of the items of collection. Just to be more precise when I ask that question.
You can ask her if the discussion involved the vial, if it involved the vial and its booking.
I may not ask her whether Michelle Kessler said something specifically to her.
You can ask her that question, whether or not something was said to her about that.
Okay.
Without suggesting what that was.
Without suggesting?
Specifically what that was.
Well, he's suggesting that this was any kind of an investigation, or she was subject to an investigation.
I've just outlined the three items I'm going to allow.
Thank you.
All right, let's have the witness, let's have the jury, please.
I'm sorry, I just asked for 1 minute so I can change my questions here so I do not say anything that's inappropriate and that's outside what.
Be my guest.
Thank you.
But let's cycle them in since it takes a few moments.
Hi, guys. Missed ya.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let the record reflect we've now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Ms. Mazzola is again on the witness stand undergoing cross-examination by Mr. Neufeld. And ladies and gentlemen, we're taking just a moment to allow Mr. Neufeld to make a few adjustments before we resume. But I thought we'd get you in here and get you settled so we can get started. Take your time, Mr. Neufeld.
I'm so sorry, Anna. Okay, Bobby. Who else thinks he's going to accidentally slip in something here in these questions? Imagine what Cochran would say to him if he didn't accidentally slip something in here with these questions. What kind of psychopath fills coffee crafts with water? Oh, oh, I'd be so mad if that were me. I sit down, I see a big coffee craft, and I pour it as water. Better be vodka, then it'll be okay. I wonder how many are for OJ in that crowd back there. I would suspect very, very few. But what if there's a lot? Like the whole right side. Replay crew, like someone who starts watching this trial on this channel 2 months from now, they get to just fast forward months at a time. They could just skip a whole month. And guess what I forgot? Darn it. Darn it. That's a whole video wasted. Bye, love.
Good afternoon. Sorry for the delay. Good afternoon, Ms. Mazzola.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Mazzola, isn't it a fact that on November 22nd, 1994, you discussed your involvement in this case in the presence of your boss, Mrs. Kessler, and the presence of 2 detective investigators from the district attorney's office?
We had a meeting, yes.
And at that meeting, you discussed your actual involvement in this case, didn't you?
Overruled. Collection of evidence.
You discussed your involvement in the collection of items of evidence in this case, didn't you?
No.
Did you discuss how you became involved in this case with those detective investigators?
That's vague.
Did you discuss what role you played in the collection of evidence, both on the 13th and 14th of June?
No.
Isn't it a fact that during that meeting with the detectives that you said to them that your job, didn't you say to those detectives during that meeting that it was your job to collect blood stains on the 13th and to collect stains on the 14th from the Bronco? Didn't you say that during that meeting?
Overruled.
I don't remember saying that.
Now, at that same meeting, Ms. Kessler was present, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
And at that meeting, didn't Ms. Kessler indicate to you and to the investigators that you were present when Van Atta passed the blood to Mr. Fung?
Was anything discussed about the collection of the blood vial?
I don't remember, Your Honor.
Isn't it a fact, Ms. Mazzola, that during that meeting with the 2 detective investigators and Michelle Kessler, your boss, Michelle Kessler said to you, let me fill you in on a couple of points.
Sustained.
At any point during that meeting, did Michelle Kessler suggest to you that you actually saw the pass-off of OJ's blood to Dennis Fung?
Overruled.
I don't remember if she mentioned anything about that or not.
Well, when you say you don't, I have a very brief sidebar, Your Honor, so I don't go into something that,
No, proceed. You can ask her what she means.
all right, well, you said you don't recall whether that came up, is that right?
That's correct.
Have you ever listened to a tape recording made of that meeting?
No.
Are you aware of the fact that a tape recording was made of that interview with you?
I seem to remember that a tape recording was made.
Were you told at that meeting that the tape recording was made, or were you told that sometime later?
I was told at the meeting, yes.
Is it a fact, Ms. Mazzola, that that tape recording of the meeting was made surreptitiously? Your Honor?
Or you can answer the question.
They told me that it would be taped. That was all right with me. I had no problem with it.
What's next in order?
11:20.
I'll show you this document.
You show that to Mr. Goldberg?
Sure.
Well, there's no foundation to show right now.
Showing to see if it refreshes your recollection.
All right, show it to her.
No, show, thank you, my recollection is refreshed.
Take a look, okay, at this paragraph of the report in that sentence.
Mr. Newcomb.
Ms. Mazzola, isn't it a fact that that interview on November 22nd was surreptitiously recorded by the investigators from the DA's office?
Overruled.
That's what the piece of paper says.
Does that refresh your recollection as to that fact?
Not really.
We'll see.
I actually strike the, based on what the tape said.
Overruled.
This morning, when I asked you about the subject matter of all conversations you had regarding this case when Ms. Kessler was present, you said that the only discussions dealt with giving you pointers for when you became a witness. Isn't that correct?
Overruled.
The meeting, excuse me, the meetings that we had at SID were about the courtroom testimony.
Well, this meeting that occurred November 22nd, ma'am, was Ms. Kessler present at that meeting
Yes, she was.
with the two detective investigators from the DA's office, correct?
Correct.
And where was that meeting held?
At a restaurant near Piper Tech.
And when I asked you what discussions you had with Ms. Kessler about this case, I didn't limit it to the discussions that you had at SID, did I?
I do not believe so.
Right? So this discussion that occurred on November 22nd, 1994, which was tape recorded, was not limited to pointers for you to use when a witness in this trial, correct?
I was not having the discussion with Ms. Kessler. She was present, but I was not having a
Ma'am.
discussion with her.
Dennis Fung testified that you were carrying the blood vial of Mr. Simpson's in a black trash bag when you left Mr. Simpson's home in the late afternoon of June 13th. Let me ask you, ma'am.
Yeah, that comment is improper. It's not a question.
Sustained.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, at any time, did you ever carry or handle O.J. Simpson's blood vial?
Not to my knowledge.
And that's still your position as you sit here today?
It was not to my knowledge at the time. I was not told that I was carrying the blood vial.
Okay. Did there come a time subsequently where you believed that you were carrying the blood vial?
Says no.
Overruled.
Not carrying, but had carried.
Okay. Did there come a time where you learned that you had carried the blood vial?
Yes.
And did you learn that in the discussion that you had with Dennis Fung after you had testified on August 23rd?
No.
Isn't it true, Ms. Mazzola, that as late as November 22nd, 1994, you were taking the position that you had never carried or handled Mr. Simpson's blood vial.
That I had not personally handled it.
That was the position you were taking as late as November 22nd, 1994, correct?
That I did not personally handle the vial itself.
Well, let me ask you this, Ms. Mazzola. As of November 22nd, 1994, had you already come to believe that you had personally carried Mr. Simpson's blood vial?
Overruled.
I had found out that I had carried it, yes.
And when did you find out that you had carried it?
I am not positive. I believe it was on the 14th of June of 94.
Ms. Mazzola, would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that handling the vial and carrying the vial basically mean the same thing?
Overruled. You can ask her what she means by that.
Ms. Mazzola?
Not really. To me, they do not mean the same thing.
So when you tell someone that you never handled Mr. Simpson's blood vial, that didn't mean to you that you had never carried Mr. Simpson's blood vial. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And if you were asked by someone whether or not you ever handled Mr. Simpson's blood vial, and you knew that you had carried it, but not actually put your hand on the tube itself, you believe that it is fair answer to state that, no, I never handled it?
Overruled.
If I had not physically manipulated the blood vial, I did not handle it.
Well, that's my question, ma'am. So if the person asked you whether you had handled it, but in your own mind you had carried it, do you feel that it's fair for you then to answer that question in the negative? No, I hadn't handled it.
Yes.
And you feel that that answer is an honest response to that question?
Yes.
And so when these detective investigators asked you on November 22nd, 1994,
This is hearsay.
well, didn't you state to the detective investigators that you had never handled O.J. Simpson's blood sample? Didn't you say that to them on November 22nd, 1994?
Overruled.
I did not handle the blood sample.
And so is it your testimony that you in fact said to the investigators on November 22nd, 1994, that you had never handled Mr. Simpson's blood sample?
Overruled. Do you recall saying that to the investigators?
I don't recall.
All right, let's move on.
Let me see if this will refresh your recollection.
Showing her defense 1120.
Ms. Mazzola, having looked at defendant's exhibit 1120, does that refresh your recollection as to whether or not you told the detective investigators that you had never handled O.J. Simpson's blood sample?
That says that I did not handle Mr. Simpson's blood sample.
I'm not asking you whether or not you handled it. I'm asking you whether or not seeing this document refreshes your recollection as to whether you told the detective investigators that you had never handled O.J. Simpson's blood vial.
Overruled.
That does not refresh my memory, no.
Ms. Mazzola, since you testified on August 23rd to not seeing the blood vial given to Mr. Fung, has anyone suggested to you that your testimony poses a problem for the prosecution?
Sustained.
Ms. Mazzola, didn't you testify on August 23rd that you did not see a blood vial passed to Dennis Fung by Detective Van Adder?
Sustained. It's also hearsay.
Ms. Mazzola, referring to page 762. Were you asked these questions and did you give these answers?
Does Your Honor have this?
Referring to line 8, beginning on line 8.
On 762?
Yes.
8 to what?
Okay, they're taking too long.
27. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's too late for sorries. It's too late for sorries, sir. None of us accept your apology. Never, never, ever, ever. No, jerk, 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 jerk. All right. We've been beaten up enough for Wednesday. We are going to save some of this torture for tomorrow. We don't want to be tortured all at once. That's not how torture works. Torture is long. It's a slow process. So come back tomorrow. I bet you can't wait to come back tomorrow, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for coming out. Bye.